Hello and a warm welcome to the Next Gen Racing YouTube channel for our weekend preview. And we've got probably not the best racing this weekend. We've got 4 races that we're going to get stuck into. It's kind of at that time now, Jack, isn't it? Where, we'll get a few good meetings. We've got the Betfair Hurdle obviously coming up. We've got next weekend, we've got the Clarence House. But it's all leading up to Cheltenham now, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. We've got the Dublin Racing Festival, of course, in a few weeks. But I mean, no, it's nice to keep it ticking along. There's still a decent few novices, I think, to come out, especially novice hurdlers. So no, there's enough to keep you ticking over. But yeah, I mean, all eyes are definitely drawn to Dublin, and then of course Cheltenham Festival.
Yeah, and the big news of the Cheltenham Festival, I mean, unfortunately, Jack Kennedy at the weekend suffered a nasty injury. Wish him all the best there, and he's not going to be able to compete at the Cheltenham Festival by looks of things. But the news that some expected, some didn't, but Davy Russell has come out of retirement. Jack, it's not a massive shock, but look, this is probably the way everyone wanted to see Davy Russell bow out and at the big meeting at Prestbury Park.
Well, yeah, I mean, I gave him too much credit because he did it just after Frankie Dettori. I went, that's how you properly retire. And now he's come out of retirement, so I got to take that back. But no, yeah, it would be great to see him back in the saddle when it means he can do it all over again.
That's it. Look, Frankie goes on his world tour. Davey can have like a couple of months to do his tour. But yeah, look, it's going to be great that, and everyone will be looking to find out who Davy Russell's going to be riding at Cheltenham. I'm sure he'll be riding a Grade 1 winner, and that'll be an excellent way for him to bow out. For those who haven't watched this channel before, do like, subscribe, share, comment, get involved. Jack and I do like to get involved with you guys. We're going to be giving you our tips. We'll give kind of any news stories that come out at the start of each episode as well if you haven't seen the channel before, and you'll see our selections. They come up at the end of the show on a nice screen that you can screenshot for the weekend. Hopefully Jack and I can find a few winners. We didn't have a bad weekend last weekend, Jack. We had a good weekend actually. Started the weekend well. I had a winner out in Meydan. I'm sure we'll hear more Meydan selections at the end of the show. I had Algiers win at 9-2, and then yourself, you had a great each way selection in the Tolworth, and then you found us a lovely winner, didn't you?
Yeah, I mean, Algiers absolutely hacked up, didn't he? Oh my word.
He did.
I mean, it was nice to see the Doyle have a fabulous weekend out in Meydan. But yeah, Champ Kylie making all, Danny Mullins from the front. It's an absolute masterclass, isn't it? I think he's definitely a valiant Ballymore contender here. A lot of people are trying to crunch the form, but I think he's a good jumper. He jumps up to his right every so often, but I do think he's a great jumper, and he's got a huge chance in the Ballymore for sure. And of course, Lastro Boy finishing second in the Tolworth behind Tamures, plugging on for second at 18-1. It was a great weekend for us.
That's it. I think there were like 7 selections between us both. A 9-2 winner, 7-1 winner, and an 18-1 place. You cannot complain with that. And with Jack talking about Cheltenham there, we're actually going to be having our Cheltenham Anti-Post Series episode 3 coming out at the start of next week. So look out for that. I'm sure we'll discuss some of the novice hurdlers there, and we'll give a couple of selections leading into the festival. That's enough of the intro. Let's get stuck into the racing. We'll start off with Warwick. Jack will preview 2 races there, and we start off with the 150 on Saturday, which is the eventmasters.co.uk Hampton Novices Chase. It's a Grade 2 event over 3 miles, and the betting currently looks like this: Complete Unknown 7-4, Stage Star 11-4, Manila Crooner 7-2, Gallia de Lito 9-2, City Chief 6-1, Marla Mission 14-1, and 20-1 about the other 2. Jack, kick us off here. Is it a race you're going to be having a bet in?
No, it's not. It'll be one I'll definitely sit back and watch. Of course, Complete Unknown and City Chief both with the 1-star over fences. I mean, Complete Unknown took to fences like a fish to water last time out, jumped delightfully. Yeah, it was a good performance there. City Chief, of course, nothing could have gone more wrong against Giuliano Bello. Jumped on, sprawled on landing, jumped right on occasions, got back in touch with Giuliano Bello, but was, of course, beaten 30 lengths. But I wouldn't be surprised to see City Chief take a step forward. Complete Unknown was a fair hurdler as well, second at Perth, of course, in a listed event. But I'll definitely sit back and watch this one for sure. If I was going to stick my neck out, I think Complete Unknown is probably the one to beat.
Yeah, agree with you there. If I had to be stretched, I'd be with the favourite here. Look, he was actually sixth in that, I think it was sixth in the Stayers Handicap Hurdle at Haydock, Jack, and we said the form, and that could turn out to be quite nice. That was behind Botox Haz, who won that race. Unfortunately, Botox Haz, I don't think he showed his full running at Cheltenham, to be totally honest. I know they've put this horse up for the Stayers, so I've got
got an entry.
I know, yeah, he did get an entry. Yeah, look, I don't think we saw his true running. We'll discuss that on the Anti-Post series. But yeah, look, Complete Unknown. This horse won a novices handicap chase quite narrowly, but the two at the front of that race drew clear of the rest, and look, the seconds come out and run second again in a novice handicap chase at Chepstow by 5 lengths and gave £5 to the winner. So I wouldn't say that's given too much harm to the form. It'd be interesting to see if Manella Crooner comes over. I don't expect that's going to be happening, being totally honest. Gallia de la Toe is obviously interesting, was well fancied over the Christmas period, wasn't she? And she just unfortunately really disappointed, and a lot of the Skelton horses disappointed over the Christmas period. But yeah, look, complete unknown, not a bet for myself and Jack, but looks like the one to beat. Let's move on to the race where I do have a selection. We'll see if Jack does as well. It's the 2:25 at Warwick, the Ballymore Leamington Novices Hurdle, a Grade 2 event again, over 2 mile 5 furlong. And Knowsley Road is 3-1 favourite. Ginny's Destiny 100-30. Grey Dawning, that horse there was a big gamble over the Christmas period, 4-1. Twin Jets 11-2. Gavega and Landrake 6-1. Moonhunter and Snake Roll 8-1, and double figures bar these. So yes, I do have one in here, and it's going to be one of my selections. And look, this selection is going to be based on whether the ground comes up how I think it will, and it looks like it's soft at the moment, and the rain is coming. I hope it stays soft. I will only be backing this horse basically if it's a bit of a bog at Warwick on Saturday. And oh yes, baby, it's Gavega, Gary Moore's horse. No surprise there. We know I've been a bit of a fan of this horse. When this horse won at Lingfield, I put this horse up on Twitter and said, look, this could be quite an exciting one. I got to see this horse at Fontwell on Boxing Day, where the ground was good to soft. And I know that when speaking to Niall Houlihan, who rode the horse that day, he said they'd probably like it to be softer, but I think the class of the horse got through that race. A little bit workmanlike, wasn't he, Jack Gavega, on the day? But I just think that, you know, if this horse has soft ground, he'd be a lot better. I don't think Niall actually got too serious in the finish with this horse. A couple of taps down the back and ended up winning pretty comfortably in the end. I actually do think, and I've said this before, that this horse might actually be a better horse than Authorised Speed. It might be a bold shout. We saw Authorised Speed at the weekend at Tolworth really disappoint. I don't know sort of whether that was that horse's forerunning, but I'd love to see Gavega in a race like that, because that horse would have loved that ground at the weekend. I think just the distance would have found that horse out. But like I say, look, if it comes up soft, it comes up a bit of a bog. I do think this horse is very classy. He will be targeted at something like the Ballymore Albert Bartlett. I'd imagine the Ballymore, obviously in the race, I think around 25-1 for that race. But another one where you wouldn't want to be backing this horse anti-post. If this horse does perform at the weekend, he is going to shorten. But again, you're going to have to wait for soft ground on the day to be backing this horse come Cheltenham. But yeah, Gavega Jack 6-1. Closely related to Facile Vega. I will be with this horse here. Who for you?
I think, don't get me wrong, I think Ginny's Destiny and Knowsley Road both have a lot of scope for improvement. A lot of them do. Gavega, I think, is a valiant shout. But I do think Grey Dawning's the one to beat here. He's definitely going to be a selection for me. He went into open company last time out. We saw it was a great performance at Kempton against his elders. He beat Lallygag. Lallygag was giving him £3, but now rated 132. I just think Grey Dawning, I mean, he's proved it against his elders. He's now dropping back into novice company after proving it in handicap company, where he didn't really jump that well as well. And I think it was about 3 out. He bumped into a 2 out. He bumped into a rival, but I mean, he saw the race out in good style. He beat Ball Barley, who's an okay kind of handicap yardstick, but I think he's definitely on the up. Of course, he won a bumper at Wetherby as well, beating Sporting Ace, who's by no means a bad hurdler. I think he's rated about 115 now. I just think he's a little bit overlooked. I think he's not as aesthetically pleasing on paper as perhaps a Ginny's Destiny or Knowsley Road. I know Twin Jets, I know the Milton Harris team are a big fan of Twin Jets, but I just think Grey Dawning at about 4-1, I think he's definitely worth a couple of pound on the nose. I think he's an okay price. He's a fair enough price. I think he should probably be about 7-2, but I think hopefully he'll be able to take another step forward.
Okay, there we go. Grey Dawning for Dawling in the 225 at Warwick at 4-1. Hopefully you can go do the business. And like I say, I'll be with Gavega in that one there. Let's move across to Kempton, where we'll preview 2 races there. The 205 is where we start. Over 2.5 miles, it's the Coral Silviniaco Conti Chase, a Grade 2 event here. And Pick Dory's the 11-10 favourite. Paint the Dream 9-4. St Calvados 11-2. Cool Cody 14-1. Angel's Breath 16-1, and Clondor Castle, the outside of the lot, at 18-1. I'm going to put this horse up as a selection because I think this horse will win. It's short, but Pic D'Orhy should just win this race. It's not a great Grade 2. It's actually probably one of the worst Grade 2s we've seen this season. But Pic D'Orhy, look, 2 from 2 this season. Won the Peterborough Chase in impressive style, I think. Miller's Bank, First Flow, Mr. Fisher, all behind him that day. I'd say that form is probably the best in this race looking at it. I know Paint the Dream absolutely hosed up at Newbury, but question is, what did that horse beat? And I know last season, look, this horse was 4th in was it the Melling Chase, and had Sco Royale in front of him that day, and then St Calvados and Captain Guinness behind. I'd probably say that was a career best. I know this horse was 4th in the Charlie Hall behind Brave Man's Game. I might be being a bit harsh in saying that Pic D'Orhy has the best form in the race, but I do think he's the most classy, and Harry Cobden has come out and said, look, he's definitely the one to beat. I think St Calvados, now this horse was second in probably the worst Grade 2 there's been this season, in the Chanel Farmer 1965 Chase. Everyone's a big fan of David Maxwell. You'd love to see this horse go and put in a decent performance, but I just think this could be a step too far. So look, Pic D'Orhy, a Grade 2 winning novice chaser. I think he'll be picking up a Grade 2 this Saturday. What about you, Jack?
I think Cool Cody's a key figure in this, because I think if Cool Cody goes off like he usually does, I think the race is going to be set up perfectly for Paint the Dream. Again, I think his jumping was tested. They went off like the clappers last time out. His jumping was tested to tenfold, I thought. I mean, he didn't jump all that great, but as they got into the race, as they all started to come off the bridle, I think his jumping just got better and better. I mean, second at 2 out, he kind of got a little bit low, but I mean, in time comparison to Sebastopol, who won on the same day, it looked very favourably. I mean, in the run-in, he was pretty much eased up, whereas Sebastopol hit the line with plenty of conviction. But I don't think Paint the Dream, although he didn't jump that well, I thought he stayed well off a good gallop. If Cool Cody can go off out front, I think it's going to set it up perfectly for Paint the Dream. Pic D'Orhy, yes, I mean, he's definitely a worthy favourite, but I just don't think there should be that much of a gap between them. Of course, he's giving Paint the Dream £2 as well, and Paint the Dream's actually rated £3 higher. So I do think Paint the Dream's a little bit overlooked. I think if he was trained by Willie Mullins, he definitely would not be 9-4 at all. St Calvados is an interesting one. I think he's going to win a big one this year. I think because of the David Maxwell factor, he definitely gets overlooked. I mean, it was remarkable how he managed to get turned over by Cool Cody last time out. I was actually hoping they were going to send him to the King George again, funnily enough, but they didn't. I think he's probably going to win a decent pot somewhere this year. I just think he's probably a little bit too short. I don't think Cool Cody should be nearly 3 times the price of him. But look, I think Paint the Dream's being overlooked by the Pic D'Orhy factor, and hopefully Fergal O'Brien can take this Grade 2.
Okay, there we go. Top 2 in the market we've given mention to, so we're going to battle there, Jack. And like I say, I may be being a bit harsh in regards to Paint the Dream, and the form maybe look right up there with Pic D'Orhy, but look, Nichol's going at 36% strike rate so far, and he's really kept up to that as well. I know currently he's on holiday, so he'll be hoping to celebrate a winner whilst away. Let's move on to the big handicap that we'll be covering on the preview. It's the 240 at Kempton, 2 mile 5. It's the Coral Lanzarote handicap hurdle Class 2 event, and Green Glory and Outlaw Peter, the 5-1 joint favourites. West Balboa 8-1. Dubrovnik Harry is 11-1. Captain Morgs and Petit Tonnerre is 12-1. Compron, Cobbler's Dream, Harbour Lake and Scarface 14s, and then 16s Bar. I sent you a text on Monday, which is always, look, you never know what to expect from me via text. Jack will tell you that, but it was me telling Jack who's going to win the Lanzarote, and Jack absolutely loved the fact that I was looking at the Lanzarote so far out. But I always like having a quick look at these handicaps. It was a very brief look, and I said to Jack that West Balboa will be winning this race. The 7-year-old, trained by Dan Skelton. Look, she was second to Coquelicot, I want to say, at Sandown. Yeah. Oh, good pronunciation.
Coquelicot, I think.
Coquelicot, yeah, we'll go with that. Yeah, that was on Tingle Creek weekend. That was gave the winner £6, who ended up making all that day. Now, what we've got to remember with this horse is that we haven't seen this horse for quite a while prior to that race at Sandown, and she was actually second to Stage Star in a shallow hurdle back in 2021. And this is quite an interesting. Lossiemouth was actually 5th that day. Right now, I'm actually joking, not the Lossiemouth trained by Willie Mullins. Tom Lacey actually had a horse called Lossiemouth in the race, don't worry. But look, joking aside, it may not be, a strong shallow hurdle, but she's very lightly raced and may have needed that run. I think it's 339 days, I want to say, or 340 days off. And look, a lot of the horses she faced were match fit that day. The Skelton horses are now going quite well. I think they'd be delighted actually with the way she ran. Speaking to Jack just before we came on air, it was quite a good time in that handicap as well that day. I'm sure Jack might mention a little bit about that in a second. She put up £3 for that run. I don't think that's going to affect her too much at all here. She's obviously been given a mare's hurdle entry as well this week, which is really fascinating. I mean, she'd have to find a fair bit to be up to a mare's hurdle. I mean, look at someone like Marie's Rock. She'd be having to find like £23. But the Skeltons obviously can see something in this horse that puts her in, with the level of potentially Grade 1 mares. So I'm sure they're seeing a lot more improvement at home. So look, I may be talking absolutely rubbish here, Jack, but I think at 8-1, a huge player, going to be a nice each-way bet for me this weekend. I'm sure you'll talk through some of the others in the market, especially potentially the favourites that are coming. Well, we've got one favourite coming over from Ireland. What do we make of this race, Jack?
Well, yeah, let's not forget, I mean, Marie's Rock was pulled up in this last year before winning the mare's hurdle. So you never know with West Balboa. I mean, I think she's got to be well handicapped of 130. I mean, it's weird because her pedigree doesn't suggest she's going to get this far. But I think last time out, she really did shape like she is going to get this far. The only thing is a strongly run 2 mile 5 might not suit. She definitely gets soft ground. She's still a little bit inexperienced, of course. But no, I mean, Outlaw Peter, I think he's probably short enough at the top of the market. He's got a bit to prove, I think, on the softer ground. I mean, don't get me wrong, I think he's actually going to handle the soft ground. His knee action suggests that he probably should. But I still think he's got a little bit to prove. And 5-1 short enough. And then Green Glory, I mean, what do you say about these Irish hot pots? They come over, we see it time and time again. But
You'd let the horse win, wouldn't you? You'd happily let it win.
Yeah, you definitely let it win. I mean, I think they just take up too much percent of the market, really, when they're 5-1, 6-1. I mean, we saw a surprise package last year in the Imperial Cup going absolutely bolt up. But no, I think you're spot on. I think you just go and let him win at 5-1, 4-1 on the day and say, okay, there you go. But I think there's probably a little bit of each way value out there. And there's actually two that I quite like. The first is at Petit Tonnerre, who's 12-1, who's a 5-year-old. Now, the only thing is 5-year-olds don't have a great record in this, but I think he's been crying out for 2 mile 5 on soft ground. I mean, he was second at Newbury last time out, behind Red Risk when second on good ground, and then penultimately was third behind A Different Kind and Peking Rose it was at Aintree. But I think 2 mile 5 on this ground, I think he's going to absolutely love soft ground, that's for sure. I mean, I think it's his Dam his Dam sister won over 2 mile 6 in France, and I think all his pedigree points towards soft ground. So I think soft ground's definitely going to suit. I think 12-1's an all right price. Yes, he's a 5-year-old, which is a slight negative, but I think 12-1's an okay price. And the other one is Harbour Lake, the 7-year-old, who is, of course, third in the Greatwood, who I don't think exactly suggests soft ground's going to definitely suit. I know he won at Bangor over 2 mile 3 on soft ground, but I mean, he was fourth at Aintree last time out over 2.5 miles in front, of course, the infamous Lang and Dan, who we don't really mention anymore. But I think he's going to handle soft ground. I think 2 mile 5 shouldn't be an issue. Of course, he was third in the Greatwood. I think this step up in trip should suit. I think his Dam actually did. I think it was a hat trick on soft ground. So I think soft ground shouldn't be a problem for Harbour Lake, and he's 14-1. So I'll probably take those two about Petit Tonnerre and Harbour Lake.
Right. Okay, that was DJ's selection actually on Up in the Ante, is his charity selection, Harbour Lake, for the Lanzrote as well. Get a little plug in for Up in the Ante. Right, what am I doing here, Jack, with your selections? Because I can't put the whole market in the selections box for
Harbour Lake and Petit Tonnerre, I'll be backing both of them each way. You'll be able to get enhanced places on the day, so hopefully 4 or 5 places, both at 14-1 each way.
There we go. Okay, a couple of good each way shouts there from Jack, and obviously I'll be with West Balboa in the Lanzarote. Before we get into other selections, we'll quickly just look at Sunday, because we've got some graded racing over in Ireland. The Moscow Flyer is where we should probably just have a brief discussion, Jack. That's on Sunday, I think, at 1:10. This race, with regards to Mullins, I think he's won 5 of the last 10 renewals, and the horses that he's won it with, Votor, Duvan, Min was second in this race. Dice Like Dynamo actually fell in this race, but all of these horses have gone on to the Supreme. Ipere Pass is very short for this race here, Jack, but 12-1 for the Supreme. It seems like Mullins likes to send a good horse here.
Yeah, I think so. It's way too short for me to be backing.
Yeah.
Again, it's the Mullins factor, but no, happy to sit back and watch Imperial Pass hopefully go and bolt up.
Yeah, it'd be exciting, and a few, I'm sure, who are watching have got some sort of anti-post bet on here, on a Perry pass for the Supreme. So interesting to see how he'll be getting on Sunday. I won't do the maiden joke to Meydan because I've done that last week. But I'm going to get up other selections now, and we go back to Meydan for mine. I think Jack and I have actually got a selection in the same race. I've got 2 in the race, and Jack's got 1, and neither of them match up. So the 2 that I like in the 4:20 on Friday at Meydan. Ottoman Fleet, the favourite in here, 7-4. Probably the right favourite, I'd say. He actually smashed last week's winning selection Algiers in a listed event at Newmarket towards the back end of the season. But I just think that it's worth taking this horse on with another Godolphin horse, not trained by Charlie Appy, but Syed bin Sarur. I think the Dubai Future should take the beating here. You may remember this horse actually getting quite a big fan base with regards to punters for the Brigadier Gerard back at the start of the last flat season. A lot of people put this horse up as an each way shout. Didn't quite deliver, finished 4th in that race there, but has been seen over in the Middle East actually winning the Group 3 Bahrain International Trophy the last day. Now that could be quite good form looking at the race. Some smart enough horses looked like they were in there. And a bit like last week, I don't think this is the most overly strong Group 2 that we're going to be seeing at Meydan during the Dubai Carnival. This horse actually won at Meydan on debut last year. That was on the 14th of January. This time the horse will be running on the 13th of January, and I think hopefully this horse could be doing the business at 9-2. And the other one that I would say to keep an eye on, that would be Dubai Future, be the win shout. The other one to keep an eye on would be the each way shout, which would be a horse called San Donato. Now, loyal fans of this channel might remember from right from the start, when we first started this channel for the flat season, I had this horse tipped up at a big price for the Sussex Stakes back in 2020. A race won by Mahaffey. Jack was sat on a wall watching it at Goodwood Racecourse that day, obviously during COVID times. And San Donato took up the running on the bend, and I text Jack and went, oh my goodness, this horse has a chance. Unfortunately, the horse faded out and ended up finishing 6th or 7th in that race. But his last event in the UK was actually in a Group 3 event, finishing 3rd of 4 back in April 2021. Now, he was gelded 2 days later and then switched to Doug Watson only back in November of last year. So it's quite an interesting one why this horse has ended up here. Now, he then won a listed event in December at Abu Dhabi in comfortable style, really comfortable style. Went back and looked at the replay. Do not rule this horse out at 9-1 because potentially Doug Watson may have this horse right. I've always said this horse has had potential, and 9-1 could be a really interesting price here for a trainer who does very well at these meetings. So San Donato each way and Dubai Future at 9-2 in that 4:20, Jack. Now, Jack, you're going to be taking me on with one selection. Who are you with in the race?
Yeah, the French come over on Zagre, and Christophe Soumillon takes the ride. He's 7-1 at the moment. I just think on ratings, he's probably a couple of points too big. He was second to My Prospero in a Group 2 at Saint Cloud, and of course My Prospero went on to finish 3rd in the Champions Stakes. So I think that's a good bit of form. I mean, he then won at Chantilly in workman enough like fashion, easy for me to say. But I just think 7-1 is probably too big a price on ratings. I know there's obviously going to be the Godolphin hot pots, and I usually think they're probably a point or two short out in Meydan. So hopefully Zagre can go well.
There he goes, Zagre for Jack in the 4:20 at Meydan. Hopefully you can have a bit more luck over there in Dubai. Again, maybe not a Napa next best weekend. We do like to try and do it on this channel, but we'll go to Jack. Look, he landed his best bet last week with Love Envoy at 4-9. Yeah. I'm joking, he didn't actually put it up, but hopefully, look, Jack, we can claim it. We can claim it. Can you go 2 from 2? Who is your best bet this weekend?
Oh, it is a tough one. I'm going to say Petit Tonnerre each way in the Lanzrote.
Petit Tonnerre for Jack and the Lanzarote. I'm going to put up, look, if the ground comes up soft, my big selection of the day will be Gavega in the 225, the novice hurdle at Warwick on Saturday. But again, look, you've got to wait for the ground for that one. If it comes up really, so it might even be one where you watch the first couple of races, see how the ground is to decide whether you're having a bet on this horse. But I'd be looking for a bit of a bog, I would say. So there we go. Selections are on screen now. You can take a look at those. What Jack and I are going to be betting. You'll see some of those have no bet on them. Jack and I won't be touching those races this weekend. And you can see all of the reaction to our selections on our Twitter during the weekend. So that's it for this week. Big thanks to Jack as always. Like, subscribe, comment and share. We will be back with you, like I said at the start of the video. We'll be back at the start of next week with our Cheltenham Anti-Post Series episode 3. Only a couple more of those to come before we actually get into our main festival preview, which will also be revealing details about on that Cheltenham Anti-Post Series episode. So you'll be able to find out where it is, what we're doing, who's going to be on the panel, and hopefully some of those who want to can come down and get involved and come watch that live. So we'll reveal all details of that probably on Monday or Tuesday next week. You'll see that come out. But big thanks to you guys for watching, and we will see you on Monday or Tuesday next week.